Let's talk about what's happening in Kashmir and the history and context behind it. On July 26th, the Indian BJP-led government tore India's constitution up and revoked the special status of Kashmir, the only Muslim-majority state in the country of India. And they deployed thousands of troops in already what many consider to be the most militarized region on the planet. Tourists and pilgrims were asked to leave immediately, quote-unquote asked, with the Modi government citing a planned terrorist attack. India has stripped Kashmir of its semi-autonomous status. Colleges were shut down to house soldiers, and a communication lockdown began on August 4th. The Modi government used the rhetoric of security in part to justify the move. And no doubt, Pakistan and India have played dangerous games over disputed Kashmir, most of which India controls. A small part of it is under Pakistani control. And Pakistan has supported groups and armed groups that have committed atrocities and terrorist attacks in India, even as the Indian government has engaged for decades in systemic human rights abuses in Kashmir. Now, here are some of the reports of what's happened in the last couple of weeks to get everybody up to speed on one of the prime crises in the world today. A crisis because of the innate humanity of everybody, including, of course, Kashmiris, and also because this is a tension point in South Asia between two nuclear armed powers. This is the most actual and real threat of an escalation of that kind of conflict in the globe today. Youths have been beaten, publicly stripped naked, and publicly humiliated. Additional reports have talked about electric shock torture, have been reported by independent media. People have been picked up by security forces, and families have had no idea where their relatives have been taken. Young boys, as young as 12 years old, have been detained. The Indian government officials have themselves stated that more than 4,000 have been arrested, and local politicians and moderates have been under house arrest, as well as rampant reports of sexual abuse and other allegations against the Indian military. Now, there is the history of Kashmir that goes back to a balance that was struck initially under the Nehru government, which allowed for a semi-autonomous region in Kashmir. In the 1980s, there was actually been a sort of endless punting of a referendum where the Kashmiris could determine their own fate. This new level of escalation reflects the extremist far-right ideology that underpins Narendra Modi's leadership, the BJP party, and the RSS paramilitary group that umbrellas all of it. We need to understand these dynamics to understand what's happening in Kashmir today. And this all sort of is under the umbrella of Hindutva, or Hinduness. Now, again, as always, and this should be obvious to anybody who has a basic ability to think, just as we make the distinction against any type of lazy characterization of any religion, whether it be Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, or Judaism, there are multiple variants within every single religion, and all of these religions are manifested in different ways. This is one of the reasons that I've never appreciated the lazy atheist arguments or any type of essentialism. Whether or not you're a believer, the reality is that there are left-wing, progressive, reactionary, open-minded, pluralistic, contemplative, as well as socially conforming variations of all religions. And Hinduism, in fact, represents some of the most open and dynamic teachings of the world. I'd recommend the great book by The Argumentative Indian by Amartya Sen, who's one of my intellectual heroes. But Hindutva is the far-right, imagined past nationalist project of the extreme right in India. It's essentially a fascist ideology. It appeals to an imagined Hindu nation that extends far beyond India's borders. Like other extremist ideologies, it's built on an imagined past and strictly segregates India into different historical time periods which don't reflect actual historical and anthropological realities and dynamism. The RSS, this paramilitary group, arose in the 1920s and shares intellectual currents with the fascist movement, as well as an interest in Aryan societies. The RSS operates, as we mentioned before, internationally. The United Kingdom, the United States, Kenya, Trinidad, and Tobago. It has a fervent anti-Muslim bias and has talked from its inception of creating a Hindu Rashtra or Hindu nation. The assassin of Mahatma Gandhi was alleged to be a former RSS member. This is a very disturbing quote from M.S. Golwalkar, who was one of the early RSS intellectual. Germany shocked the world by purging her country of the Semitic races, the Jews, a good lesson for us in Hindustan for us to learn and profit by. In keeping with extreme nationalism, some RSS leaders also supported the establishment of the State of Israel. The BJP has been winning elections and had a previous government in the late 1990s through 2002. It has a significant presence in West Bengal, and it was founded in 1980 as a successor to other Hindu-oriented parties. The BJP is subsumed under the umbrella in some respects of the RSS. The RSS is the larger non-governmental organization which operates academically, culturally, politically, and in business. The BJP is a political arm of that. That would be the best sort of analogy. If a larger umbrella group started fielding candidates, the BJP would sort of be subsumed in that. Now, there's different variants of the BJP. Prime Minister Vajpayee, who was BJP and ran India in the late 90s through 2002, was quite right-wing, but not the same extreme of Narendra Modi. Narendra Modi was the premier and leader of the state of Gujarat, where he represented the BJP. And fusing together what you see today, Gujarat was recognized internationally for its market-oriented policies, its acceptance of foreign direct investment, and interest in sort of digital tech India, which is a very trendy discourse at that time, and also a reality of a market-oriented transforming Indian economy. The infamous Gujarat riots, in which over 2,000 people were murdered, many of whom Muslims and Christians, and over 150,000 people were displaced, took place in 2002. Modi, again, the most gentle conclusion was that there was incompetence and a lack of responsiveness. His own rhetoric spoke of reactions to actions taken by Muslims, as an example, downplayed the extent of the atrocities. And a report at the time from the National Human Rights Commission of India stated that the state had comprehensively failed to protect and uphold the rights of the people as set out in the Constitution of India. Maya Kodani, who was the Minister of State for Women and Children Development in the government in Gujarat, was sentenced to a 28 years of imprisonment for her direct participation in a massacre. She was later acquitted in 2018 by the Gujarat High Court. So as the Prime Minister of India, he's continued in this vein, and we also see across India vigilante violence, lynchings of Muslims who have been accused of, as an example, murdering cows. This has been something that has been widespread, along with market-oriented policies. And in fact, Narendra Modi, even as he has promoted this extremist ideology and has this background in Gujarat, he's won international acclaim. The Gates Foundation is rewarding him right now for his Clean India initiative. And I'm going to quote now briefly from the Times of India. In a major recognition of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's ambitious Clean India initiative, the U.S.-based Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation will confirm the PM with an award for his Clean India initiative, which was launched during his first term at the center in 2014. Now, there has been no reversal on this as of yet, even as the atrocities in Kashmir take place. It's impossible to understand what's happening in Kashmir without understanding the dangerous ideology that is taking control of India. Even more worrying has been the silence from the international community, with the very honorable and clear exception, as with countless other cases, of Senator Bernie Sanders, we will get to in the postgame. Even more worrying has been the silence of the international community while these travesties are ongoing, and it is in no part due, as always the case, to Modi's pro-business and pro-corporate stance. And we will continue to cover this more, but first we got to get to the shout-out. You've just watched a Michael Brooks show video, and you can watch all of our full main live shows every Tuesday night at around 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and subscribe to get all of the clips you want. We're covering the globe. We're focusing on international relations, the intellectual dark web. We're having fun. We're doing deep dives with a lot of amazing guests. Of course, become a patron for the whole thing at patreon.com/TMBS, or subscribe to this YouTube channel and help us keep growing and get that content out there. Subscribe below.